What's going on, everyone? Yes, today is another toy review, and yes, the man that stands in front of you is Guts, or also known as Gatsu, or also known as the Black Swordsman. Now, this particular character is from the epic manga slash anime Berserk. Now, this figure is made by Real Action Hero Toy Line, which is made by Medicom. This is a 12-inch figure, and let's go ahead and jump into this review and see what this figure has to offer. So off the back, as always, let's go ahead and look at a 360 detail look of the character. And I will say, this is definitely really nice. I will say when you see it as well, like on photos, or even on this YouTube, right? You can't really understand how nice this figure look until you actually get it in your hand. At least that's how I felt. Like when I seen the face on a few different pages, like it looked okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like I'm like I don't know. But after actually having him in hand, he definitely look up to par. So he looks really well done. Let's go ahead and focus so you can see the details. Now we've been waiting on this figure for quite some time now, so just happy to have him. It's actually definitely a great thing. And let's look at his back. Go ahead and take this off 1 second. Oh damn, Guts, big ass head. Alright. They got the brand as well. So that's definitely cool. Actually, let's bring it in a little bit closer. And look at them nicks. Like that armor looks so well done. And I will say, when I actually put the Band of the Hawk version next to this version, you can see for yourself that they definitely added more details. So it's not just him looking different, obviously, from like this more of a manga representation of him versus like the animated movie that came out. And you can tell just by like the skin tone and just even the weight of the face itself. Alright. And that is your full 360 of the character. And that way you can see the inside of his face. Little scars here and there. Alright. Now as for a height comparison, so I'm going to go ahead and compare him to the Band of the Hawk version. And you can also see the difference. So as for height, I'm going to say both of them stand equivalent. They're pretty equal, like off the bat. Guts. Actually, no, I'm a liar. This Guts is a little bit taller. I'll come back a bit so you can see. So yeah, this Guts is definitely have a smidget taller than the Band of the Hawk version. And like I said, you can definitely tell the movie version versus kind of like this manga representation version is that he's a lot lighter of the old one, where the new one is definitely has a more darker skin tone, kind of like the books. But they definitely do a really good job. Alright. So let's go ahead and move him out of the way. And let's look at accessories. So, first and foremost, Guts is going to come with a few things. Now, the only thing that was kind of a damper, it's not a real big deal to be honest with you, because most people don't use them no way, so I kind of understand why they didn't make it removable. But your actual daggers, throwing daggers, does not, they're not removable, unfortunately. Even the old one, like the real old 12-inch figure Guts, these were removable. So it's kind of odd that they didn't do that. I do know the 3.0 version will have removable throwing knives. But that's one of the accessories that you probably would expect it to actually be able to remove at least, but they didn't do it. Coming down, which I'll just go ahead and pull off so you can see. So it's kind of odd and different. It's a bad thing and a good thing. Let me focus. So this actually is on the peg. Where remember how the old one is just practically already designed directly onto the belt of the Banner the Hawk version. Well, the reason why this is on the peg, because even if you look in the books, when Guts move, this rotates on his hip to kind of get out of the way when he's doing movement. So it's kind of smooth. But the downside of this is because it's just a basic peg, this will fall off kind of easy. I mean, you can't just like tilt them forward and it falls off, but it's definitely not on there as good as you would think it would be. But this is one of the accessories, which is a slight difference in design of his dagger itself. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean further as how it comes. So when you actually pull him out of the box, he's going to be just like that. And pretty much you just peg this directly onto his belt. And it's like that. So, like I said, you can move it around to kind of, you know, work for you. The other accessory that you get, which is like a false version of it, his crossbow. That's just the handle to it. Let's see. There you go. And you might be able to see in there a bit, but it's like a little piece of plastic that's kind of fitted for this, so that way it won't move or kind of like fall out. So that's really nice. And when it's in there, you know it because it ain't going nowhere. It's pretty solid. All right, so that's his first two accessories. The other thing you're going to get on Guts, you're going to get his actual crossbow that's in its full working mode. And the details on this is amazing. You see the scratches, the wood looks really nice. This is movable for the hand. Go on the other end. It just pretty much caps directly on top of the false arm. Let's look at this. You can see the little arrows in there, which is also really nice. Little nice detail touch. This is movable. And you can place his hand on there if you need to. See little nicks and stuff. So really nicely detailed. You're going to get that. You're going to get a total of 3 false hands. So you have this kind of like relaxed one, which can just be a relaxed one, or it can be meant directly for when he's using his cannon arm, which I'll be showing that to you later. And they just peg directly into the top part of the arm itself. That's where that little peg hole is, but they're nice, you know, pretty basic. Nothing too major, but they definitely look good. All right, you're going to get a total of 4 of his normal hands. So you get the default ball fist. And these hand scopes is pretty much identical to the first release. This is one of the new hand scopes. This is meant for when he put his hand on top of his cannon arm to shoot it. So you kind of get that relaxed hand. You're going to get the ball fist, of course. I'm sorry, not ball fist, but the sword wielding hand, which I will show you in a second. You're going to kind of get this other relaxed hand. And that's the same exact hand that came with the other one as well. Alright. And let me show you the other hand along with the sword itself. So I just left the hand on there just because it's going to be easier for me to do the review without having to fight with it. So this is the sword, and I will say details on the wrapping looks really good. You see a bunch of nicks. Really nice. And what's nice about this material kind of feels like a matte finish. So I know when I do like my little blood splatter on my sword, I'll probably do it sometime this week or whatever, but it's going to stick really well because it's not a smooth texture sword. So I don't have to worry about getting that kind of like that that fake look where it just looks way too smooth. It's going to have a grittiness feel to it. So that's really cool. You get a ball joint on his piece of cloth that's hanging off. And then this right here just pulls off. So it's not like the Figma one where you just kind of like, it's perfectly circle all the way around. It does have a particular notch on it, so you can't put it on the wrong way. All right, so you get the big sword. And last but not least, you get an alternate face. You get the yelling face, which is painted immaculate. The only thing, if I was to go make a gripe about something, which is not really a big deal, it is what it is his teeth. Like, his teeth is really rounded look. It's kind of weird looking. Almost look pretty basic. But it is, like I said, it's not a big deal. It's just, that's just me. But overall, the face looks great. The shading on the face is practically like dead ass perfect. The nice little nicks on the face. Even when you look at Guts' ears, they even have the standard manga ears. Like, if you look at the other Guts toy, his ears is not designed like this. So that's how you know they was shooting for the book. So you get that. And this does definitely have a moving eyepiece. So you can look like that. Down, of course, side to side. And then you have the whole, which people probably seen on the production photos. You can make him look like in the manga where he just kind of like loses his shit. So that's definitely nice. Now, this is one thing about the old face versus the new removable face. The new removable face is actually designed a little bit different on the inside, where it kind of prevents the eye from moving certain directions completely. I don't really like this design solely because certain expressions I used to do with the old one, I can definitely do with no problem. This one, not so much. So you can still do the basic side to side, but like if you're trying to really get dynamic, and one thing you got to be concerned about, because I did see this between the two that I own, this eye, if the person paints the eye or the pupil in the wrong place or too far over or anything like that, when I try to get him to look like just glance upwards, his eye actually veers off to the left of him. So it can't stay centered. So if the person paints it in the wrong place or slightly in the wrong place, certain eye expressions you won't be able to get, unfortunately, due to the fact that that eye guard is preventing you from doing that. So like if someone did paint it slightly off, it wouldn't have made a difference if this guard wasn't here. But because the guard is there, that can be a headache. All right. So that is the last of the accessories. And of course, you already know about the black cape. The black cape, let me go ahead and just show that real quick though. The difference is this one is a little bit more padded. I wish they gave it a hood. That would have been dope. I don't know why they make Guts so much without his hood. I don't get it. I know he don't wear it often, but he still has it. So why not include it? But the texture of this is really nice. Like, it's nicely padded. And let me zoom back a little bit so you can see for yourself. He does have wire. The wire is not super strong, but it does hold the basic bends. Further as trying to make his like cape lift completely off his back, it can't do. Just Medicom is kind of known for making like a real simplistic wire where it's not heavy duty, so it won't do that type of holds. So you do get that in the cape. All right, now the figure itself. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you as much as I can possibly tell you. I kind of took this toy apart slightly, cause that's just shit I do. But just to see how certain things function. Now, one of the other things is, it sounds like a lot, but like I said, some things is not a big deal. Some things is, I think, just poor choices. It doesn't make the figure bad. It just doesn't make any sense. So a lot of the stuff on this character, they should have either thought out a little different, or just didn't do it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. So for example, as I go down, I'm going to explain it. So on the head, on his head rather, he has a ball joint, of course, into the head, into the neck. you can look about that far down without moving the neck. This far up, this far to the side, and this far to the side. All right, now keep this in mind. If you do toy photography, this can become worn down over time. This rubber feels a little bit different, so I could be wrong. This rubber feels a lot stronger. If you look at the Band of the Hawk version real quick, and I tell people this a lot in the other one, but you can see it firsthand. I'm gonna try to go ahead and focus real quick on him. If you notice, his skin tone is a lot different from his face, right? Well, you can see the peeling on the neck. That happens over time as you move the head around. It's kind of like inevitable. It's gonna happen. But this particular figure feels like it's slightly different in material. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just a new feeling on it, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna peel like that. It seemed like they almost took a different approach because they know pretty much that issue happens a lot. But it is a rubber neck, so you don't have an actual joint exposed. He does have one under the rubber. Problem is, the rubber is so strong, it's going to pretty much stop 90% of that movement that you're trying to pull off. So realistically, it's not a big deal. I don't really care if I had a joint in the neck dealing with some of these figures because they just work so well, you kind of don't need it. But that's the case dealing with his neck aspect. Coming down, let's look at the shoulder guards and look at the straps. So his straps on his armor is completely disconnected, which in this case is actually kind of dope. This is nice, just for the simple fact that you can kind of move it around and adjust it to the way you need to adjust it. And I think it works perfectly fine. They don't need to have it completely glued onto the plastic. So I think this is nice, especially if you had the issue I had where I had to repair my extra Band of the Hawk guts, which that's why you don't see them with the armor. I can put the armor on them, but since I had choice, I know what, I just make a relaxed version and the standard version. You will be able to actually remove this armor if you want to, just due to the fact that under his rib cage right here, this is just glue. So if you put like a blow dryer to it, it will soften the glue up and you can pull the armor off. And since these are just rings, metal rings, they're not actually sealed off. You can see it has little cuts in it, so it can be bent back and removed off. So if you have to repair them, you can actually repair your figure, which I think that's great. All right, now coming down to the shoulder, on his guards, you see they can lift up. Now this is where the part I do not like. So this is a smarter design because they went with rubber. The original Guts 12-inch figure actually had fabric, which you'll be like, oh, that's better. It actually wasn't, because due to the fact the fabric wasn't the greatest fabric, especially due to his time frame, it tore apart. So this was very smart. The problem I have is that I don't understand why they didn't run some type of rubber strap from the inside down to the actual bicep guard, because now you have this gap. You have this rotating all over the place. It looks sloppy, depending on which way you pose. I don't like that. It's not the greatest. And on this arm, the damn strap is perfect because it doesn't come down and you can't see any gaps. But because this one is a larger strap, for some weird reason, it's kind of all over the place. You move it the wrong way, got a gap. All right, so that, in my personal opinion, was a poor decision, or wasn't thought out well. Now, as for poseability, I'm gonna do this arm. So you got a hinge attached to another hinge / swivel. So the arm can come forward, it can go slightly back, it can clearly go out side to side. Now, I'm gonna tell you, for people that never owned a Medicom, if this was your first Medicom that you're picking up, be careful. Because 90% of your failures that will come out of a Medicom figure, it is known for happening. It happened to me numerous times. That's how I actually know how to repair the figures, due to the fact of all the fuck ups I've done. This joint that sits in there, which is the rocker, well, door hinge, if you want to call it, is probably the most fragile. And these joints is kind of stiff. So you trying to just move the arm freely. You don't want to crack nothing in there because this has a very odd design. If you've seen any Medicom bodies without any clothes, you can kind of tell how it's made. And Medicom kind of like one of them, you're not going to teach them nothing new even if you suggested it. So just be careful with that. But you can get full motion. So it's nothing, no direction you can't go that this suit is hindering you at all. Because these go completely up. Clearly, if I want to get his arm lifted above his head, I can do it. I just have to rotate coming forward to up or back and up. But you can do it. You do have a swivel at the bicep, so it turns here, which works great. Coming down, you have double hinge elbows. All right, goes about this far up. Coming to his other arm, it is slightly hindered due to the fact the false arm has more things in the way. So you're only going to get, let me focus real quick, sorry about that. You're only going to get that much of a bend on this arm versus the other. All right, now both arms do have hinges attached to little pegs, which I'll pull off and show you, which is just that, okay? And it just snaps in. They're very sturdy. They're pretty damn good. This is pegged in, so you can either rotate it from the joint that's inside or the joint that's actually in the hand itself. All right, now coming over to this arm, this works a little bit different. And this was another moment where could have been thought out a little bit better. Now, on the old 12-inch figure, and that's why I was saying it's kind of sad, it's smart but great. So the smart part, this whole brace is designed so damn good. Like, it works. It's not hindering nothing. It's not in the way. It just works great. Like, I really like it. Even the little wire, the rubber wire in the back is awesome. The downside to the false arm, though, let's come down a bit. The old one was able to rotate right here. So if you had to actually do a selective pose that you needed, you could do it. I don't know if it rotated in the book. I thought it did. I could be wrong. Maybe that's the reason why they didn't put a rotation on there. Can't say for sure. But for posing reasons, it would have been great. All right. But that does not move. So sometimes it's kind of hard to get his arms close enough together to hold his sword with two hands. Now, going down to his wrist, since he doesn't have the whole swivel spin, that's the reason why I said this should have turned, because this can't turn. So your only option is to actually go either up or down. Now, going up, you notice I can do it with ease. Going down, I can push down, but you don't want to scrape any paint. So my suggestion is, this is how you change your hands out. Like I said, little peg system. You pull that off first, then you put the arm down. And if you do that, that way it's free and clear of movement, and you don't got to worry about scraping no plastic. All right. So let's put that back on real quick. Oh! I'm just going to leave it off. I can put it on when I don't feel like it. So, coming down to the waist. Let's go ahead and zoom back. He can rotate. All right. How far he can rotate, that's going to be kind of difficult due to the fact that these right here braces the harness. So trying to rotate them completely, you might not want to do that because you don't want to break nothing. All right, so he can do a little bit of turn, but not by much. As for tilting forward and tilting back, he don't get much neither. Just it's too much stuff around. Okay, now if we spin around to the back, which this is one thing that they changed up, which it's not necessarily bad. Lighten up a bit over here. All right. So this right here, which normally sits on his back like that in the books, they actually put a swivel down there so you can actually rotate this. Don't know why, because you never see this like that in the book. So another moment where I personally feel like is an unnecessary piece of moving plastic. This could have just stayed glued. Or maybe they could have just glued it, in my personal opinion, just like that. Like now against both of them, because like I said, if you want to remove the straps, you can. But if they just would have just left this glued like that, that's perfectly fine. it having a swivel is kind of like pointless. It's just like an add-on part for no reason, or another thing that you might have to be concerned about. Okay, going down, this is a little chain, kind of like your keychain, as you would say, or would think rather. Let's go ahead and focus real quick, and it does have the little click, so you can take it off. This is for the sword itself, and it goes all the way up to his back into that end. All right. Now, coming down to the pelvis. So, this is what's cool. His entire leg piece, this part, this part, this part, this part, this part, and this part are all on separate pieces. And what's dope about it, they're not glued at all. So if you need to change out legs, you just pull the foot off and slowly work your armor off, and you can fix it. Now, what's also kind of cool, let me go ahead and zoom back in. This piece that's right here, if you happen to get it when you get your figure, if you decide to get them, and it's kind of like funky or on the wrong angle, you can see these straps go into the belt. They're not glued in. They're literally just pieces of plastic slid under the belt. So you can actually, if I wanted to, I can literally just take this whole part and just take it off. So that's why I say this is nice. If something is not looking right in your personal opinion, where you just feel like his pants has his armor looking pretty crappy, you can take the armor off and fix it to your liking. So I really happy with the fact that they did not glue it to the pants. The original one actually had real straps as well. It was a pain in the ass trying to move the stuff off. If you look at this one, they're just straight pieces of plastic slid over the pants. All of it, the bands, everything. So that's really cool. As for articulation, his legs can go out about that far. I wouldn't push it. I'm gonna tell you why I wouldn't push it. Not because of the legs, because anybody know Medicom figures can do pretty dynamic poses. This fake leather is the same material. This might be a little bit thicker. It's the same material that's made on the Medicom Naked Snake from Metal Gear Solid 3. And I will tell you right now, be careful, because I don't know what other figures I own that has that. I think my Gantz figure may be slightly made of this, I think. I'm pretty sure it is. But the problem is, this type of fake leather will crack if you twist it the wrong, like if you, let's say it's boots, right? So in order for me to put these boots on, which I did do this because I wanted to make sure everything was nice and flush, I took the boots off and I took his pants and kind of like folded it over and then slid the actual shin guard back on. That's what prevents it from being all bunched up around the leg. So I actually slid in there as far as I could possibly slide that piece of pants leg into the armor itself. So just be careful when it comes down to moving the pants, or if you do what I have to do, just to actually get the armor to fit right on them. Because when you first get it, the armor might seem kind of spaced out or just not overlapping each other the way it should. So you might find yourself doing that. But beyond all that, that's the range of a widespread dealing with the legs. Going forward, get about that far up. On this leg, pretty much the same, but you'll have to move that in order to get it, or you'll just have to turn the knife as far as possible. Alright, so that's how much you get range there. You do have a swivel in the legs. Realistically, probably don't have to do it too much, but you do have them. And it's going to be kind of hard due to the fact of how thick the armor is and how thick the pants is. Alright, now coming down to the knees, you get about that much of a bend. So you get your full bend like you should. Alright. Coming down to the foot. Now this can be a pain depending on the case as well when you get your figure. The shin armor is so thick, or the plastic is so thick, right, So if you look, let me go ahead and zoom up close so you can see it. So if you look, this right here goes up under the toe armor, right? Sometimes this will collide, right? And when that collides, you may not get the full range of motion on the foot, because either A, if you try to bring it down like this, sometimes the foot gets very weak and it'll fall off. I had an issue with it at first until I did the wrapping of the pants, and then when I put it back on, I haven't had any issues since. So it actually worked out. So if you find yourself where your foot is not staying on like it should, you might have to maneuver the pants around to make this whole area tight, which will make the foot stay on the way it should. Alright? But range wise, you can tilt it about that far, probably a little bit further depending on you moving this around. Going forward, your foot go about that far down, go about that far up. Alright, and this is a separate piece from the shin. It's designed the same way as the the Hulk, or not Hulk, the Hulk, the Band of the Hulk guts. Alright, so it's pretty much built the exact same way. So that is all of the articulation dealing with good old guts here. So my thoughts on the figure, I must say, I actually like it. Like, do I think it was worth the amount that it's worth? I say yeah. I'm actually happy with it. I can't deny it. I was gonna get the 3.0 version. A good friend of mine actually pointed out that Guts' head was way too small, and that was one of the things I was like, no, what, damn, that does look kind of bad. You got this big bulky body and this little ass head. But the other part that kind of turned me off on getting the figure is if you look at the false arm on 3.0 version, which I even mentioned that to 3.0 themselves on their little Facebook page, because you know you can talk to them, and every now and then they may actually use real words versus like using that automatic basic answer shit, right? So if you look at the arm over here, it has so much wrapping, because it's actually real wrapping versus just plastic. It has so much real wrapping that it actually looks like it's stopping this brace from bending like it should. Because if you actually look at the photographs, which I had my boy look at, the same one that told me about the head, if you look at the photograph, you'll notice that his real arm does all of the bending, and the false arm basically don't even damn move. Not saying that it doesn't have the function to move. I just think so much stuff is going on where that elbow is at. It's kind of stopping.